two of the traditional stances of the EU in global affairs are being put into question. The first one was the predominance of economic priorities over virtually everything else. The EU defined itself and was regarded as a trade player, as a competition player, as a regulation player, but not so much as a geopolitical player. And now the EU wants to change in this regard. The second is that the EU was characterized by a strong preference for a world of rules and global governance. And so the EU is in the process of redefining itself in these two dimensions. Because the landscape is different, the landscape is more geopolitical, it's much more determined by the US-China rivalry, and because the global order is in pieces.
The Biden administration, although it has announced a new international posture, has certainly signaled that in its first few years, it's going to give its highest priority to domestic issues that are of great concern to the United States. And so the European Trade Commission should not automatically assume that the trade questions will be put at the forefront. And I think Europe and the United States will do best when the initiatives that they take in the trade area accord with their domestic priorities. These include climate, these include rebuilding through infrastructure, these include dealing with COVID. So these are major priorities, and so they should craft the trade initiatives to resonate with those domestic issues.
There is a pretty elaborate global infrastructure and international infrastructure of oversight of the global financial system with standard setters like the Basel committees. There are lots of acronyms. The Financial Stability Board is coordinating all that. But I argue that it's time to think of the next step. That certainly not supervision of global banks at the global level, because this is utopian and certainly not achievable, but also not necessarily desirable in the near term. Supervision of banks is something that will remain at the level of individual jurisdictions, but what is needed for a step up is supervising information platform, information intermediaries. Global policymakers need to be able to monitor exposures, monitor market developments in real time. And for that, you need not just harmonized standards, you need platforms that provide the information in a usable way. And the EU should lead on that.
Regulation at the European level should recognize that access to big data is essentially a fundamental building block of future innovative capacity, and therefore should, in my opinion, be view big data sets as essentially the equivalent of a patent. So this is currently crucially focused on the big platform platform businesses. But going forward, especially in a world of 5G networks, I think it's very important to recognize that once 5G networks are in place, we're going to see that you can pretty much be sure that big data sets can be collected in every sector of the economy. This is not necessarily something that is associated solely with the currently in vogue large US technology firms.